So, folks, the other day we covered part one of What the Fuck is the Left Even Doing? A video, an hour-long video, from What If Alt Hist. And we only made it through half the video because it's just so intellectually dense, we'll say, to be polite. There's just so much to talk about. He really opens a lot of interesting topics, to say the least. And anyway, before I go further, hey, you on YouTube, hey, hit the like button, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. My editor told me to say this. We're trying it out. And with that said, let's jump back in exactly where we left off last night. Which is, of course, the introduction of Lynch's Law, which is, and I'm just going to read it off here, no matter how mentally ill you think the left is, it's always worse. And I just want to really emphasize here, that he made this graphic, and I have to say, just small critique. If you're going to introduce a law, one, capitalize law. You know, if you're going to try and coin a term here, capitalize both parts of the term. And also put a goddamn period here. Proofread it, motherfucker. Just proofread it. It's not that hard. It's one sentence. And look, maybe I'm being a little mean, a little angy, if you will, since I have a degree in English literature, but just throwing it out there, hey, it would be really great to see some level of consistency in any of these notes you throw up on screen, Rudyard. Anyway, here we go!
Leftists casually who believe the most suicidally deranged nihilistic stuff that you can tell were fed to them by their own peer groups in which they are in complete agreement. This is...
Do we have any examples? You know, like, clearly this is happening all the time, right? So it should be pretty easy to provide an example of that, right? Right? I mean, he has a massive right-sided brain, according to him, that cares about petty things like facts and logic, things the leftist mind can't even understand. So I would love to see some of the facts he's talking about here. This dude has 750,000 subscribers.
Is a brief list of genuine things I've seen and heard in my personal life, not even online. I've seen multiple friend groups of girls my age who all became lesbians together simultaneously.
Excellent. Was it because they met you? Was it because they met you and they were just so repulsed? This is the biggest self-own I have ever heard in my life. I knew multiple groups of girls who all became lesbians. Yeah, did they, because they met you. They realized something deep down. Man, we've been going for like 20 seconds into this video and I'm already back to being delighted. Let's go!
I've seen it normalized among young women that having children is morally wrong due to climate reasons, where they'll often want to adopt a minority baby instead. I've seen
Nah, maybe that's a thing. But I gotta say, I don't think this is common at all. Like, I think the amount of women who just don't want to have kids is not as high as Rudyard seems to think it is. Mostly because if you actually look at the fertility data, as I did for a uncomfortable segment I did just the other day, you would know that while younger women have started having fewer children, older women have started having a lot more children. Women over 30 have had 67% more children. because it's because of the financial and like material like situations they're in. Like they are more comfortable being able to have children. It's not rocket science here. And I'm gonna guess that a guy who was 10 or 9 years old in 2010 probably doesn't know a lot of older ladies and is instead talking to, you know, younger ladies who aren't ready to have children yet. Just a thought.
Leftists talk about banning the air conditioner in the American South for climate reasons. I've heard leftists say that
No one's talking about banning air conditioning, you absolute clown.
Trump wants to install a racial caste system, forcing non-whites back into slavery.
What? Okay, but also just wait, I'm sorry.
Trump wants to install a racial caste system, forcing non-whites back into slavery.
Can we repeat that one more time?
Say that Trump wants to install a racial caste system, forcing non-whites back into slavery.
Now, I'm just gonna say, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump would never support a system that would be regressing American society back to a racialized slave system. That's absolutely ridiculous. Okay? There's no way. 9 hours ago today, the DOJ dropped a decades-old desegregation school case in Louisiana. Oh, that's weird. Let's read a little bit more about this from Axios real quick. The Trump administration has dismissed a half-century-old school desegregation case in Louisiana in a sign that it may aggressively end other school racial desegregation cases long targeted by white conservatives. The move by the U.S. Justice Department this week follows the Trump administration's reinterpretation of civil rights-era laws to focus on anti-white racism rather than discrimination against people of color. It comes weeks after the Trump administration said the federal government will no longer unequivocally prohibit contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. So like it's not like Donald Trump wants to bring back racialized slavery. He's just bringing back whites only drinking fountains. See, he's just bringing back the no black people allowed bathrooms. Yeah, good thing there's no kind of loophole in like the constitutional provision that ended slavery that allows us to continue it into the modern day, right? What's that? We can still enslave people who get sent to prison. That seems like maybe it could be bad, especially if disproportionately certain groups of people were arrested more often for the same kinds of crimes. What's that? Black people get arrested and imprisoned at like multiple times the rate of white people for the same crimes, especially nonviolent. Well, that seems really bad, huh? Well, don't really know where to go with this one. What was that, Rudyard?
That Trump wants to install a racial caste system, forcing non-whites back into slavery.
Man, this video has really aged poorly.
I've heard leftists say that we need to use the state to forcibly deindustrialize the economy.
This is not a common idea at all.
In mind, these types of people are the ones in charge of every major institution.
These types of people are not the ones in charge of every major institution. So, sorry, you don't have Tim Walz over here, deindustrializing Minnesota. Like, sorry, nah.
An important thing conservatives haven't realized is that a very important part of the left's evolution is that you saw a split inside the left between the more dissident pro-Palestine leftists and the more establishment pro-Israel leftists. And the Gaza war really split a lot of coalitions inside the left. And what happened is that the more dissident, frankly insane factions of the left stopped believing that their masters at places like CNN or the DNC had a lot of their best interests in mind. So they stopped doing fact-checking altogether.
Wait, what? No. There was a break in the Gaza war because it became very apparent that it wasn't a war, it was a genocide. This is not a controversial take either. Like, it's recognized as a genocide now, like internationally. And also, people just don't care about fact-checking in general these days, which is why I think people should pay attention to outlets that are doing quality fact-checking, and who actually care about getting the facts right. And look, I don't know how often you're going to get that from different media outlets, but I will always endeavor to get things correct to the best of my ability. And I will actually provide citations, unlike the intellectual equivalent of an assault rifle over here.
I am the intellectual equivalent of an assault rifle. Which means that they're getting news from TikTok and Instagram, which has no factual basis, but they're getting riled up. And because they don't trust anything the system says, and that they're so gullible and naive, you can get them to believe the most deranged stuff, which might result in blood on the streets. I've had a couple "you idiot" moments recently with this demographic of leftist. For example, young women leaving TikTok, going to the Chinese app.
Is it? Yeah, Brassman, the United Nations Special Committee, Amnesty International, many other international aid groups have officially labeled it not as a possible genocide, but as an ongoing genocide. Amnesty International actually put out a statement today saying 2 months of humanitarian aid ban in Gaza is genocide in action. And yeah, it's pretty disgusting. So, yep.
Red note in saying China is a wealthier and a freer society than America. And I'm thinking, by literally no metric you could possibly choose, is that true? I've been to China, man, and it's not that nice. Even the nicest cities, or I'll see other stuff where they'll say that the cartels will beat the US military. And I thought, you know literally nothing about warfare if you believe that. That's just insane.
I mean, wait a minute. It's not that insane considering a bunch of like Vietnamese farmers beat the US military. So like I don't know about that one, bud. I don't know about that one.
What kind of mind even produces this stuff? This is just sheer madness. How do you predict the minds of a madman? I was trying to analyze.
Yeah, I don't
I am very proud of the mental horsepower you have. What mental illnesses the left has, and the conclusion I came to was yes. My only credentials in the field of psychology are reading a few dozen books on this topic.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love him so much. I've only read a couple dozen books on psychology, guys. He always says that. He does always say that. You know, I'm just going to throw this out there. Reading books on a topic means nothing if you aren't actually tested for your level of understanding. If somebody who is actually, like, knowledgeable about the field doesn't test your understanding, you can read a ton of books and actually not have that good an understanding of anything. You know, like, I read Don Quixote in middle school, you know, cover to cover. That book is massive. And you know what? I did not get most of that book, largely because it was about the esoteric, like, courtroom dramas in like the Spanish court in the 1500s. Like, yeah, I wasn't going to pick up on that. So you know, like you can read a book and not understand it. And I feel like a lot of that has happened with Rudyard. You know, I'm somewhat of a psychologist myself, is really the energy that he puts forward every single goddamn video he puts out. This is why I love Mouse Utopia as a paradigm so much, given it explains nearly 100% of factors today. For example, the multiplicity of mental illnesses we see arise in modernity, as mentioned here, makes total sense in the lens of Mouse Utopia, given in the experiment there's about a dozen mental illnesses that hit them. And you know, if only there were like innumerable key differences between, you know, the way mice think and socialize and the way human beings think and socialize. I'm sure it's a one-to-one comparison. You know, you take a mouse brain, you put it into the body of a human, you basically have a human. You basically have a human. What was Flowers for Algernon but a story about how you can do exactly that, right? I may have read that and also not understood. No, I'm kidding. I do understand that one. And yeah, no. His interpretation of Mouse Utopia is insane.
But the left does show traits of schizophrenia, egomaniacalness, narcissism, PTSD, self-loathing, suicidality, amongst others. Past
Dude. You just listed off your own diagnoses. Like, unironically.
The spirits like to convey the message that you should mentally see me as Gandalf.
Like, Jesus Christ, dude. You're acting like you didn't upload like a 12-hour-long manifesto about how you're like the second coming of like the spiritual ambassador to the world. Like, are you fucking crazy? I mean, you are, but yeah.
To a certain threshold, it's just insanity, man. Suicide is the dominant endpoint in which they aim for the complete destruction of the West, their home. The best thing the right has going for us is the left wants to lose. Let's enable them in their own desires. The left is at a weak...
So true, man. So true. You should absolutely just let us win so that we control everything. And then we'll definitely lose. You're right. This is the best strategy forward for conservatives. I take back all of my criticisms of this channel. He's completely correct. We leftists should be in charge of everything, and then we will definitely prove his thesis.
Weird, basically.
Yeah, the James Carville reverse Uno strat.
Schizophrenic level, in which schizophrenics, after losing their connection to reality, will hyper-obsess over a handful of topics which they psychologically can't break out of.
The projection is genuinely insane.
For the left, they're super psychologically obsessed with black people, the climate, gays, and that stuff. I remember when I was visiting
and that stuff. Can I play? You know what? We're gonna use the Oblivion NPC sound effect for at long last.
In Boston, I saw all these support LGBT signs everywhere. I'm not against gays, but I thought to myself, why does sticking your dick up someone's ass make you a hero? The left
Oh my god.
That was some weird shit.
You know what? I take it back. He's so right.
I am the intellectual equivalent of an assault rifle.
Oh fuck. Yeah, why does sticking your dick in someone's asshole make you the hero? Clearly the hero is the one taking the dick inside of their asshole. That takes true courage. You're so right, Rudyard. You're so right. In this house, we respect bottoms. Thank you for your service. Just... Oh, fuck?
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Oh my god. Nightlight Plush Jesus, thank you for the gifted sub over on Twitch. I very much appreciate that. For the snorts, they are completely genuine. Oh, fuck.
Left has spent years actively discouraging literally anything except these topics.
I mean, okay, serious answer to that. The reason, like, we celebrate gay people is because there is a long history of discriminating against gay people. And despite that discrimination, gay people heroically persevered and fought for their rights and won. And that's actually a laudable thing. We should, in fact, hail as heroes people who persevered in the face of exterminationist policies. That's actually a good thing. We should, in fact, hail as heroes people who are heroic. And that's pretty. To me, that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, people who persist in the face of adversity. Despite overwhelming hatred, that's great. That's cool. We should, in fact, celebrate that. And the reason, again, we also have Pride every year and have that everywhere is because that started as a riot. It started as a fight for the civil rights of LGBTQ people because we were sick of being discriminated against. We were sick of having to put up with cops showing up every time we wanted to go to a bar. We were sick of cops, policing the clothing we wore. We were sick of cops, coming down and beating people for sitting on a park bench. And there are people still alive today who endured that, There are people still alive today who entered that fight within living memory. Because contrary to Rudyard's contention here that memory only goes back to 2010 and before that everything was a harmonious whole, that was actually never the case in America. And every bit of solidarity we had, we fought and bled for. So that's why we celebrate people who are bold enough and true enough to themselves to publicly embrace their identity. That is heroic. This Weasley, oh, everyone has a mental illness but me, in my big throbbing brain, in conservatism. That's not heroic. You're just supporting the status quo. At best, you're supporting the status quo. At worst, you are among history's biggest losers.
A harmonious whole describes my relationship with bottoms, and I find it quite heroic of them.
Yes. Hats off to the bottoms with all their harmonious holes and bravery. God, bravest butts in the biz. You're making a lot of assumptions about where the hole is. Is there a list of history's biggest losers? Yeah, and obviously when we're talking about harmonious holes, we're talking about the God-shaped hole in your heart. Okay? That needs to be filled. All right, we have literally only gotten through 3 minutes of this video since we started.
So they're mentally stuck. I remember when I was in college, the professors literally asking me how my every essay related to oppression. When I was in high school, they remade the entire...
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you were taking a class that required you to be able to interpret text through various critical lenses. Because I took classes like that, getting my English degree. And that's not wokeness. That's just evaluating your ability to apply critical thinking to text.
Curriculum to be around leftism. This is important since...
when you just say, they remade the entire curriculum to be around leftism, what do you mean? Explain that. That doesn't mean anything. It's like when, I don't know, Kash Patel talks about wokeness. I have no idea what he means. You know, like when you have the major Republican figures of today, they don't have any consistent definition of wokeness. The same way, like, this guy has no consistent definition of leftism. So when he says we remade our entire curriculum to be around leftism, like, what does that mean? Like, materially? Like, what did they do?
We stopped reading Shakespeare, Beowulf, or Charles Dickens, all of which they replaced with leftist authors.
Because you had already read those. I'm presuming, right?
They replaced teaching history for talking about blacks in Harlem a century ago. We did.
That's history! I'm so mad right now. Black people in Harlem a century. That's history, you dipshit. It's just history, I guess you didn't care for some reason, right? But, like, that is a very important, informative moment in American history. That's I'm sorry, but understanding, like, the history of Harlem is to understand one of the cultural nexuses, nexi? Yeah, whatever the plural of that is, of American culture.
Didn't cover the Industrial Revolution, or the World Wars, or the French Revolution. What this means is that the left has lost literally any neurological or cultural ability to move gear.
Did you need that to be covered? Did you not learn about any of those things? Because I'm guessing you had already learned about those subjects.
The human mind is a living place where you have to cultivate the ability to think about things, and the left has shut off all of their neurological and mental abilities.
The left is obsessed with black people. We need that on Teehee soundboard.
We already have something like that, G. Klein. Thank you for the $5 super chat.
Racist, sexist, Republican. These words are virtually interchangeable.
We got that from a PragerU video.
To do anything except go crazy. Ironically, the left reminds me a lot of Imperial Japan during World War II, which in most value or political compass surveys is literally the exact opposite of wokeness, being a hyper-militaristic, hierarchical...
Oh God, what is this? The 6 most extreme societies ever, we're one. One of my better older videos, it explains John Haidt's moral foundations through... Wait, is he talking about Jonathan Haidt? Okay, whatever. I don't care. Through historic context, talking about the most extreme societies. This is why I need to go and read more Jonathan Haidt, because frankly, too many insane conservative folks reference that, and I've been told like nominally liberal people can get into it too. I think I genuinely, the only people I see referencing this constantly are conservatives. And I think it's yet another example of like a pop psychologist going down a conservative route. I think that genuinely it's just something along those lines. C321, thank you for the $5 super chat.
The light really does hate empathy, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there is they think empathy is a weakness. For sure. Caring about stuff. It also, kind of synthesizes with the very online idea that if you care about something, you've lost. So the internet kind of has melded those two ideas together. Essentially, it is good to be psychopathic.
Imperialistic, racist, socially conservative society obsessed with loyalty, authority, and purity. However...
Oh, I know I won't like it, Van Briggs, but like I like understanding where these people are coming from when they make references like this.
Imperial Japan and the wokies have a core similarity, or the inability to self-regulate their own purity spirals. The thing that's very dangerous about the left today is that they know they're going to lose, and I believe on a subconscious basis, they're starting to realize they're wrong, which I will talk about in the next segment. A horrifying thing to watch in Japan.
Wait, what was that?
Wrong, which I will talk about in the next segment. A horrifying thing to watch.
From a purely anthropological perspective, Japan in World War II is really interesting as an edge case for human nature. This was a society so sublimated into the group that a lot of Japan's command knew that the war with the US was suicide, but they did it anyway. Japan was completely consumed by virtue signaling fanatical patriotism. Yeah, almost like it was an authoritarian empire ruled by a god king. You know, almost like that.
Watching Japan's World War II history is that the Japanese became so aggressive and militaristic that they made horrific miscalculations, ultimately killing their entire empire since people were constantly trying to outdo the other in insanity. This is how Japan declared war on a coalition of nations with 20 times their population at the exact same time. We're seeing
Well, to be clear, they did very well. like they made a really good go of taking over a bunch of territory. They were pretty successful for a time. And then just their big fear was the United States entering the conflict, and then we did, and that's all she wrote.
a few very dangerous psychological conditions which add up here to something really bad. The first, as we've said a few times before, is the removal of dissidents who would realign them back to sanity, as well as any moral principles that could do that. The second is decades of ego investment without even an understanding.
You know, when they talk about the removal of dissidents, they're not talking about people saying, "Hey, you're being racist and we don't want to spend time with you anymore." That's not what when people historically talk about the removal of dissidents, that's not what they're talking about, man.
Understanding of what a non-leftist worldview would even look like. If the left tries to adapt, they will do so in the stupidest way possible, since they can't even understand basic concepts like men and women are different, that white
leftists understand that men and women are different. You guys are the ones that don't understand what leftists actually think, because you keep coming back to this. This is not a thing that leftists struggle with. Hell, this isn't even a thing that like non-binary or agender or xenogender people struggle with. Man, like, you just don't understand the concepts.
White men loathe them from decades of abuse, or they need to provide basic incentives for the people who work for them. They're the spoiled aristocracy of a dying empire. Lots of older folks think that the left is more aggressive than the right among young people. That might have been true decades ago, but the most competent people among the young are on the right. I hate to be...
Sure, bud. You're living proof of just how competent someone on the right can be. You're so right, King. Best and most knowledgeable conservative right here. Gonna lead them into a new golden age. It's definitely not gonna crash and burn along the way.
Be this blunt, but most of the young talent are white men, where any young white man of fiber has been purged from the left already. Whenever the left tries to...
Well, what are you talking about? Yeah, the country is majority white, so it makes sense that a majority of people entering the workforce are going to be white men. This sounds like AI. Unfortunately, I'm fairly sure that Rudyard exists in the flesh. Also, look, you should eat fiber. We need more leftists eating fiber, okay? When you eat more fiber, every 5 grams of fiber you eat reduces your risk of diabetes and heart disease by 25%. Okay? Increase your fiber intake. I want you living as long as possible, you fucks.
To do stuff on the ground, it's so pathetic. Either between...
Yeah. When you guys do stuff on the ground, you're so pathetic. You're so pathetic. When you're on the ground, groveling. I need to stop. I need to stop.
Between the Columbia protests asking to be delivered food and water, or Chaz in Seattle collapsing into a military dictatorship run by a SoundCloud rapper and losing their food supplies.
It is 2025, and you're still talking about the Chaz Autonomous Zone? Sorry, you can't call it the Chaz Autonomous Zone. It's just the CA Autonomous Zone? I don't know, whatever. But who cares? Like that's like a block of one city.
Oh, within a few hours. The left lacks any tactical ability or strategic thinking at all. They can only make wrong decisions. The
left can only fail, which is why they've succeeded and become so powerful and dominated all of society's institutions. You know, this is the convoluted logic here is insane to me, right? It's almost like this guy is untethered from reality.
The spirits like to convey the message that you should mentally see me as Gandalf. Protests were a huge tell for me, which I can't understate. First of all, I'm the same age as these kids, and so I know they went through about half.
You know, when you say I'm the same age as these kids, you know you're implying you are also a kid, right?
Half a dozen years of anti-Holocaust programming, and then the second they get out of the cradle, they're saying Intifada. Watching the videos was insane, firstly since they're so overtly bloodthirsty, which I think was a huge PR defeat for the left. Secondly,
they're literally protesting against a genocide! What do you mean they're bloodthirsty? What are you talking about?
They're so obviously Marxist. They were talking about the
Oh man, I love this. Marxism is a descendant of Gnosticism. What a banger. What a way to open up your show note here. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Marxism is not a descendant of Gnosticism. It has no relation whatsoever. Marx didn't arrive at Marxism by reading Gnosticism and theorizing about it. He went into factories and observed workers and the social and economic dynamics at play. That he just wanted to write a book that explained how capital works. God. And like its parent, it uses specific coded terminology as dog whistles that you're part of the same secret message. Wait, that you're part of the same secret message? What? That doesn't make sense. For example, using the word proletariat rather than working class shows you're Marxist. I need to... Where's a rock? I need to bash myself over the head. Jesus Christ. Yeah, when you use those fancy schmancy words like proletariat, you're showing yourself as a Marxist. Yeah, no kidding. You're also showing yourself as a Marxist when you're talking about the working class. Alternately, I would say lessons of history and a Marxist dialectic. This is a smart way of coordinating secretly, but also makes commies easy to spot. Communists aren't organizing in secret. It's like socialists don't have a secret agenda. We are literally a broad-based movement of the workers and for the workers. That's the entire point. It's not secret. Oh, God. Fuck. This guy is funny as hell.
World revolution and the need to always carry on the revolution in their hearts. Decades of leftists saying they're not really Marxists has just become thrown out the window. And thirdly, it was nigh impossible.
Genuinely, I want to hear this guy explain what he thinks Marxism is, what he thinks a Marxist believes.
Possible to find videos of the Columbia protests after they came out, and you guys should watch the situation.
I gotta say that Google's suppression of rightist stuff is beyond ridiculous. Of course, I do not mean to bite the hand that feeds me, so you are truly wonderful, Google, however, making it nearly impossible to find news. On the first Trump assassination at the time, something I saw personally is just terrible branding on any level. I'm convinced I'm shadow banned, and it's often very blatant. Yeah, you're so shadow banned. That's why you have 700,000 subscribers. fuck, man, if Google was actually shadow banning stuff like this, the world would be a better place. I'm just throwing that out there. I think the world would be better off if this channel was, 500 subscribers. The world would be a better place.
Adam's podcast, which is a great commentary on them, because it was suppressed by Google, which is another tell about where the rule.
Wait, the Internationale is secret. Yeah, look, all of the international conventions being held by socialists and Marxists are they're super secret, guys. Do not copy.
Ruling class's loyalties lie. It's very clear that this is a dangerous cult in that the Columbia protests sectioned off an area of campus as sacred space that non-Marxists weren't allowed to go, alongside marching in rank and
Marxism had nothing to do with this. It's a protest against a genocide. Jesus Christ.
chanting. Also, as I said before, the Columbia protests are useful to look at since the kids are so clearly pathetic, stupid, and weak. They're so clearly artificial as people are in general. They can only exist in the safest, wealthiest, and most coddled society ever.
Dog, protesters exist in all kinds of societies. No, like this, what are you even talking about? You know, like when conservatives talk like this, it really just kind of goes to show that what they want is like all of these people to have taken up like rifles and like tried to overthrow the government, you know? It's why you don't want to play into that. You don't want to play into that expectation from them because they genuinely are just waiting for it and salivating at the chance to fulfill their lifelong dream of gunning down all these protesters. That's like what these kinds of folks want more than anything. For the record, that is not me saying that should happen. Just clarifying, no Fed post. Hashtag no Fed post.
Want a war, they'd lose it, and they don't realize it. I know a lot of these kids personally, since I've worked with, dated, and interviewed Ivy League.
Is he serious? Oh, he's serious as hell. Yeah.
Kids my age. However incompetent and
I'm sorry. You're 25. You're not a kid anymore. You are a man. You're an adult man. Most of these people are also adults. They are in college.
They want a war, they'd lose it, and they don't realize it. I know a lot of these kids personally, since I've worked with, dated, and interviewed Ivy League kids my age.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you know all of these kids personally, and all of these adults personally, and I also don't believe that you've dated any of these adults. I don't believe someone like this would spend half a minute on you, especially unless you're hiding your power level and you never show them your channel, which I would consider a huge red flag. And ladies, if you're dating a man and he won't show you his YouTube channel, you need to dump them immediately, because that is maybe one of the biggest possible red flags to have.
However incompetent and arrogant you imagine them to be, just double it at least. It's horrific to watch. Also, I've been seeing protests saying make the Intifada global. For those that don't know, Intifada is an anti-colonial war of genocide, and the fact they're singing this in cities across
What? I'm sorry. That's not what it is. It is a movement to end the genocide in Gaza. That's what it is right now. It's like, I'm sorry, but like, if you just Google the word Intifada, you will quickly realize that it's a word that means literally in Arabic, rebellion, uprising, or resistance movement. It is simply resistance towards the ongoing genocide when used in our current context.
America is just insane.
Yeah, how is anti-colonial a bad thing? Well, that's the thing. Anti-colonial is actually a really good thing. We should all be anti-colonial. You know? Like, colonialism is maybe one of the greatest horrors ever unleashed by humans onto humans, you know? And has killed untold millions of people. So, like, decolonial activities are good by and large. But, like, keep in mind, this guy doesn't think that. This guy is, like, one of those types that thinks, like, the best thing that happened to African Americans was being enslaved and brought to America, because now they have so many great opportunities. Or, like, you know, we killed the Indians, but we saved the child. Ha ha. Like, that, what a great project we did. Tee. Like, people like Rudyard are monsters when it comes to colonialism. They love it. And it's gross as hell.
And I'm also thinking to myself, you guys really want to try this? Because you will lose so hard. Another factor here is that the leftists themselves are deeply psychologically...
I'm sorry, is this the leftist cooks? Is that a picture of the leftist cooks? Am I wrong? Am I off about this?
Well, if you meet radical leftists, you'll find that their lives are frequently...
It is! Hi, leftist cooks!
Well, if you meet radical leftists...
I'm sorry you got somehow pulled into this video, and that sucks.
You'll find that their lives are frequently complete dumpster fires. This is since leftism is literally predicated upon mate suppression or giving others terror.
On mate suppression? Yo! Tell us more. I want to make a whole video about leftism as mate suppression, since my friend Jim Keller... Who's Jim Keller? It's probably some other ghoul. Oh, okay. Jim Keller's wife, Bonnie, is the sister of Canadian author and clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson. Oh, God. Also, Jim, can I say something that maybe might be a little mean? Jim looks like a man who would theorize about mate suppression. You know, just throwing that out there. Cool. It's a rabbit hole I've gone down, and it goes even deeper than the most cynical can imagine. In short, the entirety of leftism is basically feminine mate suppression, using GSR, gossiping, shaming, and rallying to make others weak and stupid, so they're less likely to reproduce. Dog, he's literally saying women are killing the planet. Women are suppressing men too much, and so are killing the planet. Yeah, feminism is eugenics to these absolute clowns. You know, when I Google Jim Keller mate suppression, I'm not getting any results whatsoever. So that's cool. Here, what if I just Google mate suppression? Will I get any do I have to go on YouTube? Maybe I have to go on YouTube. Okay. Mate suppression. Okay. Suppressing emotions can harm your health. This is just a bunch of unrelated things about suppressing your emotions, which I don't think is what this is about. Oh, Doug. Here we go. Okay, no, that's a Lex Friedman clip. Yeah, no, nothing's coming up. All right, never mind. Too bad. I would love... You know what? Please, What If Alt Hist, make us a video about mate suppression. I would love to be educated.
Terrible advice, like being mentally ill, fat, poor, underachieving, and that stuff being good. If you want a look into this, just look at the lives of leftist streamers, almost all of whom's reputations have been destroyed by one bizarre degeneracy or another. It's kind of cruel that the left said that all that degeneracy was fine, but it actually wasn't true.
Yeah, because as we all know, only people on the left are degenerate, and it's definitely not a bunch of conservatives with access to children. Don't look into the Catholic Church or the Boy Scouts or anything like that, because as we all know, only the left is degenerate. Oh wait, sorry, I just realized that's not a good argument because he thinks that the Catholic Church is left. So, you know, who when he says leftists, I genuinely have no idea who he means.
And then it destroyed their reputations. It's a real bait and switch. One of the most horrifying parts of the left is how much they encourage mental illness. There's an almost hilarious stat of...
Wait, you know, just real quick, you can't encourage mental illness. Like, people have mental illness. It's not encouraging people to get mentally ill. You know, like to foster a mental illness condition. Like, no, it's just that people on the left encourage each other to, you know, go to therapy and in the process of therapy get diagnosed. You know, like, sorry, we're just more likely to be more aware of how our brains work. That's kind of how that works. And then, you know, take steps so that we're functional and able to, you know, meet the demands of the day.
Comparing mental illness by demographic.
What do you mean, Jack? I chose to be mentally ill. Oh yeah, same. Big same. I chose to be, to suffer under general depression. I, you know, when I became a leftist, they hand you like a little menu and you just like, you kind of look at the options available to you and you say, you know what? I think I want this one. I think this one seems good. And then you put in your order and the waiter brings it to you with a side of bread. It's great.
And literally half of far-left women have a diagnosed...
I wasn't going to have depression, but a leftist talked me into it. Those dastardly Marxists always sidling up to you in the mental illness store.
Illness. I'm not like other girls or most conservative pundits in that I am very sympathetic to mental illness. I think trying to solve...
I'm sorry, just real quick. We didn't look at the graph. That's my bad. Have you, oh man, where, I really want to know where he got this graph. It's, because this does not look scientific at all. Percentage ever had mental health problem. Female, so high. Male, so high. But the more conservative you get, the less mental illness you have. Clearly, that must mean extremely conservative people never have mental problems, or very rarely have mental problems.
Far-left women have a diagnosed mental illness. I'm not like other girls, or most conservative pundits, in that I am very...
I mean, there's a key component there, which is diagnosed. People on the left are more likely to believe that therapy and, you know, a psychological assessment might help them. Sorry. People on the right are conditioned to say, nope, I don't need that. I'm strong. I'll just tough it out. I'll just take more walks or something. And you know what happens to very conservative men who do that for a long enough period of time? They wind up not being alive. This is a problem I saw quite a bit in rural, particularly like rural evangelical communities. Just like an epidemic of like suicidality out there. A lot of children had like that I was a counselor for. They had lost their fathers because to suicide specifically. And so like when we talk about this, let's be clear, they don't get diagnosed. They still have mental problems.
Very sympathetic to mental illness. I think trying to solve the mental health crisis is probably the most important thing I want to accomplish before I die. However, the left does...
I'm sorry, I like stopped paying attention for like half a second.
It's probably the most important thing I want to accomplish before I die.
Okay, so you're going to solve the mental health crisis, and your credentials for doing that is that you've read about a dozen books on psychology. Cool. Good luck. Genuinely, I hope you do. It'd be really cool if you do, but all right.
However, The left does mental illness in the most counterproductive
DB
way.
Wolf.
For example, as I've tried to heal from PTSD, I've worked with a leftist and a rightist therapist. The leftist therapist kept on saying, I hear you, and tell me more. And I'd say, no, I want you to actually heal my condition. And they...
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining that interaction like, no, I'm not going to tell you more about my mind. Fix me. Like, that's not how therapy works. Your therapist isn't going to fix you. You might over time reach a point where you no longer need to see your therapist anymore. 'Cause that's something that happens, but like, they can't fix you. You know, like they're not like surgeons. The mind doesn't work that way. The person is supposed to fix themselves. Yeah, no, they're exactly, Poco Curante. When you're in therapy, you are being given the tools to fix your own problems or to cope or to get through, your rough days, And sometimes that can involve like going on walks or doing more exercise or meditation or, any number of different like building up healthy coping mechanisms, and they can't fix you. Maybe they can give you like medication that could help, but like there's not they don't hack into your brain system and then, put in new instructions that fix you. You're not a robot.
I couldn't do that. And then I moved over to a rightist therapist who actually set goals with a certain type of EMDR therapy for actually accomplishing certain degrees of healing. I think that's very paradigmatic in that it shows that one of these doesn't actually want to solve your issue. They just want to make your bearing of your own patheticness easier. And the other actually wants to solve your condition. And leftist mental health involves enabling their worst traits. And it's crazy to go to blue states and see young people where they'll proudly talk about having anxiety and depression and powerlessness.
I feel a good degree of resentment about the industry of mental health in modern America, coming from a background with PTSD and with a mentally ill parent as well. Basically, we only use mental health self-servingly as anti-female mate suppression. What? There's no actual warmth. Mental health is just a tool of control. You go to therapy as a salve to a culture not built for human needs. If you have genuine PTSD, the system offers you nothing, but it does enable white girls to never mate. What? Okay, this is some like some hatred of women bubbling up to the surface here. All right, it does sound like incel shit. Absolutely. And also, like, I will agree with one component of that, which is that society is not built to meet the needs of people of differing, like, with differing mental illness. Society is not built for that. Society is built to serve capital, at least as we're currently formulated. The big thing here is that it prioritizes not the health and well-being of people living in society, but instead it prioritizes production in order to maximize shareholder value at the end of every financial quarter, in order to give bigger and bigger bonuses to those shareholders. That's it. That is what our society is built for. And that, I think, is that fundamental like system is antithetical to the health and well-being of the human race. The inefficiency of the system is promoted and empowered by the system of capital that undergirds it. And so what he's identifying here as like a tool of control, or sometimes therapy or like different mental health institutions are a salve for a culture not built for human needs. The culture isn't built is fine. The issue is underneath that the social structures are built around these days capitalism, and capitalism is not a system that benefits most people. It benefits the people at the top. Right. And so like what I find interesting here is that, generally speaking, whenever Rudyard actually identifies a specific system and gives specific instances that he believes backs up his ideology, what it actually does is reveal how capitalism has perverted and destroyed different aspects of his life. And I find it very interesting, you know? Rudyard has me swinging between this boy needs a hug and this kid needs... No, I'm not saying that out loud. But no, like, genuinely, Rudyard in a lot of ways is a victim in all this, you know? I don't feel too bad for him because he's, you know, obviously he's doing well financially, I imagine, given the state of his channel. But, like, I feel bad for him because he's very clearly broken in a variety of ways that I find interesting and entertaining, but, like, this is not limited to just Rudyard, you know? This is a lot of different conservatives who have been broken on the wheel of capitalism. Yeah, he has hateful opinions, for sure. Yeah, he's blaming women when he should blame capitalists, exactly.
And other traits. And when you do psychological studies of leftism, you'll find that they have all these things and they have absolutely no interest in fixing them.
Oh God, I was once going out with a girl for a year on and off. She wanted me to hire her for the channel. I later realized she had been manipulating me. Oh man, why are you telling this story? Manipulating me for status the whole time. She would keep saying that I should just treat her as a man. I was not as cynical as I am now, and I gave her a conditional yes. I gave her 5 pieces of constructive criticism and said if she could clean those up, I'd hire her. She freaked out and said she didn't like how I was treating her. Isn't that a symbol? You know, it's very interesting that you don't explain what the constructive criticism was, because I have a feeling if you actually elaborated on what those 5 pieces of constructive criticism were, we might understand her reaction. Also, you were dating her for a year on and off, and she told you she wanted you to treat her as a man? That's confusing, and I feel like a lot of things have been skipped over here.
I've said in previous videos, the purpose of leftism is to abdicate responsibility, and thus everything they say has to ultimately go to blaming someone else. This puts
you literally in the last notes you posted on screen blame women for not wanting to fuck.
Them in a horrific mental trap of their own making, which they refuse to break out of. Part 4, Short Circuit. I paid one of my friends to watch 10 hours of BreadTube content and some mainstream leftist media for me, and then write a strategic analysis. For those that don't know, BreadTube is the term for leftist YouTube. He did a
oh boy.
a great job, and it was actually the origin of this video.
Okay, so we got like a Noah Sampson here, got a Voosh, got a ContraPoints. Is that H-Bomber guy? Wait, is that actually H-Bomber guy in the banana suit? I never knew that. I thought it was just a picture of a random guy in a banana suit. He looks so tiny. He looks so young. Yeah, we got Sean, we got Abigail Thorne, we got Big Joel. We got Hassan, got Mia Mulder. I don't know who this person is, or this person. We got 3 Arrows, Cat Black. We got I'm in Hell. Okay, you know what? I have my BreadTube bona fides. I've been able to identify everyone on this diagram. Big Joel's great. Honestly, I really like Big Joel. Where else am I going to get a content creator that watches every single Disney made for TV movie and review it? You know, where am I going to get that kind of content? Hassan is BreadTube. BreadTube just doesn't mean anything. Like, genuinely, I have no idea. It's just leftists on YouTube, you know? Like, that's all it means. What about Little Joel? Little Joel is the sub channel of Big Joel, right? I don't know. Who's the top right? I have no idea who the top right is. Wait, I was not able to identify everyone. I don't know those two in the far right. Does anyone know who these two are? Tara Mookney? Don't know who that is. BreadTube is a joke on how leftists are poor and capitalism imposes that. You get bread or get dead. That's true. Wait, Okay, Tara Mooney. Okay, I know Mia Mulder, but who's this one? Paladin. I don't even know if Rudyard has intellect. I think he's able to absorb a lot of information, maybe, but is unable to really demonstrate it in a meaningful way. Oh, second row is Tara Mooney. Okay, I don't know who the top one is then. Mooncat? I don't think so.
I was going through the recent
whatever.
BreadTube content today just to summarize whether my thesis is still fundamentally accurate, which is something I know no BreadTuber would ever do. God, these people are completely worthless. Nothing they make is original. The only thing they do is mock and tear others down. They have no interest.
It's true. I have mocked Rudyard quite a bit, and I will continue to do so.
In generating culture, helping people, educating, or making the world a better place. They're so pathetic and nihilistic. I have no clue why anyone would watch them. They add literally no value.
Oh, top right middle is Corvidae. Thank you, Darth Gently.
There are literally no leftists I admire at this point as thinkers.
Yeah, of course you don't. You've been radicalized to like practically Nazi levels. Well, it's not even practically. I've seen your goddamn deep dive into like your spiritual worlds. It's straight up Nazi shit. You believe in like bloodlines and all that wild nonsense. Here are some good leftist thinkers from like a decade ago. Jonathan Haidt, of course, is on there. The David Graeber is great. Unironically, David Graeber is great. Yeah.
A decade ago, there were plenty. Throw on top of this, literally every major leftist streamer has destroyed their own reputation.
I mean, to be completely fair here, David Graeber is like a top-tier academic. When you're comparing top-tier academics to like YouTube video essayists, I think there might be a bit of a difference there. Like there might these two categories, one of these things might not be like the other. I don't know. I really like David Graeber. I'm working through his book on debt right now. It's really fucking good.
Through one bizarre degeneracy or another. I know of no major figures on the left who are still going.
But did David Graeber beat Baldur's Gate 3? No, I don't think he did.
As cultural icons. My friend's report ironically said that the mainstream leftist media was more stupid and less innovative than BreadTube, which is horrifying and insane to think. I wonder what they're doing with their enormous budgets. He said that the party line between all of them was pretty similar in that the left is an enormous hive mind. Keep in mind that the left is incapable of generating real leadership at this point due to the enormous envy inside their own faction. However, the big theme—
Like what are you talking about, man? The leadership of the YouTuber leadership? What are you talking about? What budget? None of these people have budgets. Oh, sorry. They are all getting the Soros check. How silly of me. I almost forgot to cash mine.
My friend teased out was that the left knew something was wrong and that their strategy wasn't working, but that they had no idea what to do about it. Due to the years of the processes described above playing out, they just can't rationally disengage. I think some of the leftist thought leaders are somewhat aware of the lie, but hold on for some sociopathic sense of personal gain or grift. The left is sputtering. They can see that things are getting worse.
I have no idea how city people cope. It's always city people who keep the blue pill the hardest, while rural areas were never really blue pilled ever. That being said, every major American city has gone down the tubes so hard, so fast. I've seen this personally in half a dozen cities since 2020. In each case, there's literally human shit in the streets. Nothing is maintained. There's homeless and chaos. In Philly, I literally saw a dead corpse on a heat vent for 3 days right downtown. Just real quick. Cities are doing pretty great right now, actually. Like, I don't like crime is at like one of the lowest levels it's been in modern times in cities. Cities struggle with homelessness, but you know what the dirty secret is? A lot of rural communities also struggle with homelessness. Additionally, you also have people shitting on or near roads in rural areas. The difference is it's rural and no one cares if you shit in a field. And honestly, a good way of dealing with this would unironically be embracing one of the things those radical trans activists have been advocating for, which is just make all bathrooms unisex. Make all bathrooms unisex. Doubles your bathroom opportunities. And hey, maybe if you provided housing for the homeless, and you wouldn't have to like restrict bathroom access so much, and people could, instead of pooping on the street because they can't afford, a $20 sandwich in order to access a bathroom, they can just, use a bathroom. Still not blaming capital. No. You see, it's not capitalism, Poodle's rule. It's not capitalism. That's the problem here. It's blue pill. The blue pill. God.
In their personal lives, which is just an obvious fact of life in America today. Their narrative that this is all motivated by white men just makes no logical sense, given the left has the power. They have to know that subconsciously, but the only way they can cover—
I have no idea how leftists mentally reconcile saying America is a white, male, Christian, nationalist, fascist-dominated country on the verge of rightist totalitarianism. This is their dominant mainstream narrative now, and the cognitive dissonance that must be required to mentally hold this in your head, while the right barely controls any institutions at this point, while the left controls the media, academia, churches, Hollywood, tech, public schools, and everything else. That is a bizarre worldview to have. But let's just really point this out. The left views, the government of the United States as predominantly controlled by white, male, Christian nationalist figures. And also fascists. Like, that's true. Like, if you look at our Constitution, it was written by predominantly white men. It's pretty obvious in how voting was restricted when they wrote that sucker. And if you look at what's happening now, well, most of people in Congress and the government are white men. A lot of them, there's a sizable Christian nationalist faction that is calling a lot of shots right now. And the person who is currently the president of the United States is a fascist. And the people around him, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are fascists. And the ones that aren't explicit fascists are complicit with their fascist activities. That's kind of how that breaks down, right? And so that's considered like America's government. And a lot of leftists tend to think that America's government is actually pretty powerful. So that's where you get that. Because, for example, with the government, you can then purge the media. You can then purge academia. You can then purge Hollywood and tech and public schools and I suppose even churches, though I'm not sure when he talks about the leftist controlled churches, I don't know what he means by that. But that's exactly what Donald Trump tried to do today. He tried to, again, pressure Harvard by saying he was going to remove its tax-exempt status. These are attempts to do the kinds of purges of leftists that Rudyard acts like are just impossible, And the tech moguls right now are kissing Trump's ass. Like they're all cozying up to him in an effort to like curry his favor and they want to do his bidding. And when we look at the media, hell, a lot of the media is also self-censoring in an effort to try and avoid Donald Trump's ire because they're cowardly and cave to political pressure, right? So again, this is why control of the government is considered very important by leftists. And I guess to a conservative like Rudyard, that's basically nothing. And that is bizarre to me. Why does he think the left wing controls churches? The rest is just conspiracy theory bullshit. But that one isn't even conspiracy theory. It's just nonsense. Well, Paladin Lost, I'm not entirely sure, given the fact that his entire religious ideology is insane. My editor is currently working on the last part of the 3-part journey into that belief system. But I think he believes that all Protestants are leftists inherently because they have rebelled against like the Catholic Church, and he views the Catholic Church itself as leftist because of Vatican II. If I had to really break it down and simplify all of that, I think that's kind of where he's at there. It's kind of Nazi shit.
Cover this up is to increase the noise of their propaganda to balance out the outside world. This is why they need to say Trump and Elon are Nazis, which is obviously not true.
Are you sure about that? Also, again, Trump isn't a Nazi, he's a fascist, but I'm just And
I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
You sure about that one, bud? Because that really looked like one of those Heil Hitler salutes to me. But what do I know? I'm just a simple country streamer.
At the same time, they've been doing the propaganda for nearly a decade, and thus they're clearly burning out. When you look at the emotional fervor through which the left...
Yeah, the AfD is the new Nazi party in Germany, and hey, Elon Musk went and carried water for them.
Tried to propagandize their own supporters in this previous election.
Wow, I didn't see the second one. Yeah, a lot of places only showed the first one. He did it. Elon Musk didn't just do one Nazi salute. He did 2 goddamn Nazi salutes, just in case people didn't catch the first one. Like, oh man, I can't figure out why people are calling this guy who did Nazi salutes a Nazi. It's a mystery. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Election, and then after Trump won, you could tell that it lacked the energy of 2020 or 2016. It's also interesting to see the New York Times write an article about...
Wait, I'm sorry.
Of 2020 or after Trump won, you could propagandize their own supporters in this previous election, and then after Trump won, you could tell that it lacked the energy of 2020 or 2016.
Let's just take a moment to really consider something here, which is let's just take I wonder if there's a new one out. Let's take a look. Let's see if there's a new one to take a look at. Let's actually look at some data. I know Rivyard doesn't quite like data all that much, but let's take a look, shall we? Just wondering if there's like an updated data. Ha ha ha! Here we go. So this is the amount of protests in the United States since Trump came into office, compared to the blue line here is 2025. The green line is 2017. So approximately by this time in Trump's first presidency, there were 1/3 the number of protests, i.e., we have literally 3 times as many protests happening right now than we did in 2017. So just as an FYI, people are protesting now more than they did. Recent polls said 7% of Americans have attended a protest this year, and I imagine that is going to go way, way up. And like maybe now isn't the time to bring this up, but I did want to show this specifically. This was just a random take that I saw being reposted on Blue Sky, but like this is significant, right? For a number of reasons, because this is only, ignore who posted it, because like look. The duties imposed on this person's niche hobby import are $327. That's the tariffs added $327 to this. And this is already happening. And like, I need to remind folks, the tariffs haven't really hit yet. Some companies have begun pricing up already, but they haven't really hit. Right? I saw a video. Let's see if I can dig it up real quick. Of
East Coast ports too. This one's in Boston. This is well under half the normal volume that you normally see at this port. Not just the West Coast ports, it's the East Coast ports too. This one's in Boston. This is well under half the normal volume that you normally see at this port as far as containers go. It's gonna hit us soon. Everybody gotta get ready. It's gonna get bad.
Yeah, so there's going to be, it's going to get bad. And when it gets bad, what's coming in on the East Coast? Nothing. Apparently nothing. But, like, imports from Europe have dropped off too, you know? And so, like, anyone who has, like, a niche hobby, anyone who has, like, relies on parts for their business that are made abroad, anyone who, like, you know, and that's a lot of people, guys. That's a lot of people. It's gonna hit. And it's going to ruin lives, and people are going to be pissed as hell. Okay? Also, you might want to buy, like, I don't know, a couple extra things of toilet paper, all right? And some beans. Just throwing that out there. Some rice and beans. Yeah, and this is going to cause a cascade of problems, like Minty Treasure is pointing out in Twitch chat, with, like, logistic chains inside of America as well, like trucking and whatnot. It's going to be bad. And that's already kind of baked in. Like, that's going to happen whether or not the tariffs get removed right now, you know? So, all this to say is that people are going to be pissed off, and it would not surprise me in the least if the number of protests happening just went way, way up as we go into this summer. That's you know, that's kind of where I'm at, I guess. I'm expecting it to be nasty. But go off, King. Yeah, there's not gonna be that much. We're at three times the number of protests as in 2017. But sure.
Serious question, how can I warn my dad about the tariffs? He's Fox News brained.
Genuinely, I have very little input on that. That would probably be useful. Like, honestly, maybe show him some of the pictures of, like, tariffs being applied on, like, products from Shein, different people, showing, like, how much these tariffs are costing, and, like, try and get through the fact that, like, this is gonna be everywhere soon. Maybe show him some of the TikToks of, like, empty Boston harbors, or, like, the empty ports in LA, you know? So that's kind of where we're at. And while all that goes down, yeah, of course, Donald Trump is posting about how he's going to be the next pope. Super cool. Really have to emphasize, by the way, that he's just fucking gone. Like, he's just like completely detached from reality. Anyway, here we go.
It's also interesting to see the New York Times write an article about Mencius Moldbug, who is a far-right pro-monarchist thinker, and it's not an entirely negative article, and that means to me that parts of the mainstream leftist media are having doubts. And there's this whole conspiracy.
I can guarantee you that Jamel Bowie is not at all having doubts in favor of monarchism, dog.
conspiracy theory that I'm an acolyte of Mencius Moldbug and I serve his interests. And we've spoken once, which is just, it's people making stuff up. On top of this, it's clear that the left is losing elite support. Elon, Zuckerberg, and Bezos have all left the left, which clearly—
I'm sorry, what was that with the Trump Pope thing? Oh yeah, just real quick. Donald Trump the other day said that he thinks he should be the next Pope. And that sounds like a joke, but he said it, and a bunch of his conservative sycophants in Congress and in his cabinet agree that he should be the next Pope. So that's a thing now.
Really signals a sea change in the entire tech field.
Yeah, you know, all of those leftists who are allegedly Marxists, you know, they were also billionaires the entire time. Shut the fuck up, man.
After the latest election, Republicans have complete dominance over the legislature, president, and Supreme Court, or all three branches of the American government.
Yeah,
the woke culture and movies have completely failed, while DEI or affirmative action—
What do you mean the woke culture and movies have failed? Have you been watching too many quartering videos, Rudyard? Have you been paying too much attention to, like, box office returns on movies, Rudyard? Have you seen the box office numbers for Terror on the Prairie, Rudyard? God. I fundamentally think the right has already won the culture war. Man, this is just another version of, like, the right is getting better at comedy, and, like, it's a picture of, like, a turd emoji with, like, a picture of Joe Biden strapped to it or something. Like, I genuinely, like, I'm not concerned on that front. Given the left has tied themselves together with too many suicide clauses inside their ruling ideology to be able to change into something else healthily, their racial caste politics are too fundamentally un-Western that it's doomed long term. Their coalition doesn't even like each other, and they've built up an entire lifetime of hatred among young white men. What are you talking about? Left is too stupid, weak, bureaucratic, nihilistic, and suicidal to win. All right.
Action alongside Roe v. Wade have already been knocked down by the rightist-dominated Supreme Court. The right has already won the culture war. The question is, how long and how bloody does the victory have to be? From my perspective, the left knows that things aren't working. They know that on the current slant, they're going to lose in America. The question at this point is whether they're willing to gradually fade away or they'll fight to the death. You guys know I believe this will end in war, but I completely respect anyone who disagrees as well. You guys have the reasonable opinion, I'm the crazy guy. I can be wrong. Let me read the room on the left as of this moment of February 2025.
Wait, stop spreading misinfo. Literally, they're talking about like a 35% volume plummet next week. Like, don't accuse me of spreading misinfo. Like, shipping is tapering off. Because there's a 145 fucking percent tariff on things from China and a 10% tariff on everything else. Yeah, people don't want to pay that shit.
First of all, I was surprised and incorrect that the left gave up this last election with no contention. The last two elections were contested, so I just assumed this one would be. Rightists don't like it when you say this either, but this election was actually still pretty close.
It was stupidly close.
And was not a conservative blowout in pure numeric terms, like rightists pretend it to be. The left could have easily won. It also blows my mind that nearly half of voters still voted for Kamala after seeing social collapse occur before their own very eyes. The thing the left is doing now that I find very scary is they're using rhetoric that makes it very—
Also, just real quick, I thought Kamala, so.
It also blows my mind.
This is not the final tally of the votes. Just as an FYI, this makes it look even farther apart than it was. The final vote tally had it 48.3 to 49.8%. Like, that's a lot closer than one might have thought from this.
Mind that nearly half of voters still voted for Kamala after—
This is a real person talking. This is not AI.
they're seeing social collapse occur before their own very eyes. The thing the left is doing now that I find very scary.
The iron law of woke projection. Oh, now you capitalize law. Okay. And you're using periods, but you don't use a period at the fucking proofread your shit, Rudyard. Whatever the woke left says about the right is what they're doing. Test it. It never fails. Dog, you aren't gonna win this fight. You aren't gonna win that. I've seen your videos. You are nothing but projection here, bud.
Is they're using rhetoric that makes it very easy for them to escalate to violence. Keep in mind the iron law of woke projection. Every major leftist out—
Who is this guy? He's a major political conservative. His channel has 700,000 subscribers.
Outlet between BreadTube, the TV stations, and the DNC are calling Elon and Trump's involvement a coup. This seems crazy to me, given the only thing they did was win an election. If the left is already saying the right has launched a coup twice, with the earlier one being J6, it creates an incredibly easy rationalization among their followers to do the same. It's also comparable with them calling their enemies—
Oh god, he's okay, now he's just posting like screenshots. All right. This is so ironic I had to leave it in. I was looking up online for references on the leftist think tank that shadowboxed about launching a coup against Trump a few years ago. Instead, all the first results of articles are all about how Trump is launching a coup from leftist mainstream news sources in the last few days. It proves my point unintentionally. Nice.
Nazis because anything is justified to fight the Nazis. Also, keep in mind, multiple leftist think tanks have already—
Yeah, oddly enough, despite all your opining here, the leftist think tanks aren't encouraging people to take up arms against the government and have like an armed insurrection. Weirdly enough.
Shadowboxed launching a coup against a Republican victory. Secondly, I see the left actively disobeying Trump's orders illegally. Every single day, I see a new piece of news, which—
Yeah, also that has a long and storied tradition in American politics. It's called civil disobedience. You might want to learn more about it, Rudyard.
Which makes it hard for me to keep track of it all, but a federal judge is refusing to carry out Trump's executive—
Wait, no, that's not refusing to carry out an order. That's not civil disobedience. Wait, you're just upset that we have laws? That judges are ruling on laws? That's literally part of our goddamn governmental system, you moron.
Orders. Alternately, the DNC is publicly saying that it will shut down the government over Trump's victory. On the lower—
How? By what mechanism?
Level, you see so much more stuff with regional governments or state governments.
Yeah, it's almost like we have a separation between the federal government and state government, and states can do things that the government can't, and vice versa. It's so weird how that works. Almost like we're a bunch of united land masses
Actively disobeying orders that Trump's executive office are sending out. Before I release this video—
United Land Masses of America.
Probably at least another dozen examples will happen between the time where I record this and this video goes out. If the DNC is saying it, it's basically orders, since the left follows orders from the DNC in a way—
The left doesn't follow orders from the DNC. No leftist is like going, all right, guys, Ken Martin, he's telling us to get out there, so time for us to work. That's literally not happening. And people are genuinely very angry that we aren't having more leadership right now.
Way that the right doesn't from the GOP. One of my friends likes to say that it's—
For example, the US's entire foreign policy at this point is based off promoting homosexuality. Oh my god, sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
I am very proud of the mental horsepower you have.
That sounds fake, but we will legit try to remove allied governments for those which are pro-queer, which just gets countries to hate us more. What? Also, let's be very clear here. one of the reasons the United States has tried to do that under the pre-existing liberal order is because more people want to do business in countries where, like, they aren't going to be killed for being gay. Like, if someone knows they're going to be, like, killed or discriminated against for being gay, they're much less likely to try and do business in said country. You know, like, that's not... It's literally to foster a more capitalistic investment into different places. So that's why that is. But sure, you go off on how this is all designed to destroy Western civilization or something.
It's really remarkable to see how much the interests of the Democratic Party are played out around the world in a way that's not true for other political parties, where you look at...
Also, can we just like revisit this for a moment? For example, I like that he uses the term here, for example, at the beginning, because this is not actually an example. He's not providing an example. That's not what this is. An example is like an actual, like, you know, demonstration of the claim. And nothing in this is demonstrating the claim.
Are played out around the world in a way that's not true for other political parties, where you look at America's foreign
First America came for the frogs, and I said nothing.
Policy, or the Black Lives Matter in Korea or Britain, and you're seeing the interests of the American Democrat.
You know, I'm pretty sure there was a scene in 30 Rock that was just a documentary about America's foreign policy. God. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs!
Admittedly, if Big Gay Fried Chicken got so popular that it ended up opening a restaurant in Abu Dhabi, that would be very funny.
That would be very funny. I support Big Gay Fried Chicken. And I also support Sake Tanuki. Again, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs and for supporting stream. I very much appreciate it.
Party becoming world-changing to the entire global ecosystem. The left has such a well-oiled propaganda machine that it's actually really impressive.
This impressed you? All right.
I remember that within a single day of the DNC picking Kamala over Biden, girls on TikTok were making pro-Kamala dances, which we know were paid for by the Democrats. Speaking of social media, the results are horrifying. All over social media, we're seeing leftists literally calling Trump Hitler, and it's not abnormal for completely insane stuff.
Yeah, because he's a fascist. The shoe fits.
A viral trend of women shaving their hair and entering the 4B, or no involvement with men at all, whether sexually, romantically, etc., to protest Trump. I think,
you know what's great is that, like, he's acting like the 4B movement is prominent in America, and it's not at all. Like, at all.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' diplomats gay. Do you understand that? Gay diplomats.
It's true. And you know what? I'm a conservative man.
I'm not built to suck your dick.
Think to myself, what has the Trump administration actually done for you to swear off the entire male sex? Because Trump is probably...
Man, he's really concerned about this. Did he get rejected in a very embarrassing way? Because that's the vibe I get here.
Probably one of the least misogynistic rulers in the regime that works with him of any ever in human history. So if Trump's too misogynistic for you, I'm sorry, look at the rest of the human condition. Things get so much worse from here.
Yeah, maybe we should reject that and make things better. You know, like this is one of the great things I appreciate about people who wear their hearts on their sleeve, like Rudyard. You know, like, he's like, well, we're actually the best we could possibly be. It's all downhill from here. And it's like, what a failure of imagination. What an absolute, like, lack of faith in humanity. Like, what a belief that fundamentally human beings cannot be better than our worst instincts, you know? I don't know. I think that's sad.
Supporting bottoms is important.
Exactly, Turtle Choom. Thank you for the $5 of support for Bottoms. You know, they need all the support they can get. Also, I know this doesn't matter at all, but did he genuinely AI generate a picture of Boots? And if so, why? Right? Like, what? Why? Why would this? Why would you do that? Stock photos are woke? I guess so. I just don't I don't understand why you would do that. I don't get it. Anyway.
There's this trend called cute winter boots, basically saying that
oh, is that why? Did he AI generate cute winter boots? That makes sense. Cute winter boots, we have been wanting. Go grab your friends. Go to a protest. Go to Washington, D.C. itself if you can. Just don't get caught. We won't get a change if we are peaceful. This is a revolution. Yeah, don't post that on TikTok, okay?
leftists need to start buying cute winter boots in order to start carrying out terrorism and violence against Trump's America.
Hey, fun fact. A lot of people on TikTok posted about that, and no violence or terrorism happened in Trump's America as a result. That's crazy.
I find that hilarious, since it's the most feminized way possible to call for war, and it comes.
Well, it's also a pretty smart way of getting around, or maybe weaponizing the way the TikTok algorithm boosts sales content. And then you use that to get your message out to more people.
Comes across like something the Babylon Bee would make as a parody.
Alec Gunther,
Reddit is going viral with the homepage getting results calling for open rebellion. Reddit is filled with all of these subreddits calling for storming the Capitol, targeting Republicans, or assassinations. Isn't it crazy how the left gets away with?
You know what's crazy is that like all of the Trump assassination attempts were done by conservatives. That's the craziest part to me. But sure, go off, King.
With stuff like this, well, if the right does it, it's a national panic. Also, let's not pretend this stuff can't happen, given how Trump has already faced multiple assassination attempts. As of now, this
again from conservatives
is just a palpable vibe, but there's definitely the energy for the left to revolt or start something. If they do so, it would be the best thing possible for the right, given the left would start with zero plausible deniability, as the right would be in the legal right.
Oh, just because you don't understand someone doesn't mean they are an incel. That's very true, Zuni. This guy, however, is an incel.
Thus would be able to probably get the entire support of the armed forces and the median swing American voter. The left would lose. The only reason they would launch a war like this is the realization that otherwise they will lose for all the reasons mentioned above.
You know, I love that he's like, yeah, the left is going to go to war. It's like, what? With what? Literally, like, what do you mean? Yeah, like, if the left was going to go to war, you'd have to be able to point to, like, the logistical chains of how that would even function. And, like, genuinely what he's imagining seems to be, like, 100 Antifa super soldiers march on Washington, D.C. Like, just the most comedic, ineffectual attempt. And, like, that's what he has in his mind. God.
In fact, the major wars of the pre-industrial world have started in that one faction realizes that if they don't have a war, they will lose their supremacy through peacetime. This is what happened in the World Wars, the US Civil War, the Crimean War, amongst others, including the classic Thucydides trap, in that this same mechanism is also what started the disastrous Peloponnesian Wars. Thucydides trap is a term used for the US and China in that you start a war to destroy a country because otherwise they will grow stronger than you. The short answer is that I don't know whether or not the left will start a war here, but it is a rational calculation from the...
It's not at all. Yeah, the left will begin by drilling our soldiers in the feminization camps.
perspective of their leadership caste. Who are the ones who start wars, given they will happily exchange the lives of their followers in exchange for keeping power? What I will also say is that historically, it's vastly rarer to see a large social change occur without a war than with one. In almost every case, large sociological...
Yeah, no, the guys, I didn't just find like a no-name channel to talk about this. This guy has 700,000 subscribers on YouTube. This video has almost 500,000 views. So, like, this guy was on Tim Pool and treated like an expert in this field. In historical analysis. This guy goes on a bunch of different major conservative politics channels. Like, he, for some reason, is a person that other conservatives go, yeah, he's sane and we want him around. God, it's fucking nuts.
Logical change is spurred by a war, and we're clearly going to see the left lose, so it's more probable than not that we'd have a major war with that. When I look at the things that could be potential casus bellis for this war, I just find them deeply hilarious. First of all, I believe the left to be looking for a casus belli for a war, which means they're looking for a legal, plausible deniability amongst their own followers for why this war is right, and they're not just starting it for no reason. And a black swan is probably the most likely.
Oh, okay. So we're just going like full like Curtis Yarvin. Is that what we're doing? We're doing a butterfly revolution?
Thing to spur that. A black swan is a randomized event you can't predict. But black swans are relatively statistically normal. Secondarily, seeing the leftist hatred of Trump going after their NGO programs and USAID is absolutely hilarious to me, because I've been tracking the left's emotional modulations and their emotional reaction to seeing the government take away their aid money for these various parasitic bureaucratic organizations.
Yeah. You know, it's almost like people don't like it when they see their government taking money away from programs that are single-handedly keeping, you know, like hundreds of millions of people alive. That it's almost like, you know, knowing that these government fucks are, for no reason other than to be cruel, condemning children to starve to death in war zones. It's almost like people don't like that. You know, it's that's crazy to imagine. I know people caring about other people, even in an abstract, but you know, us leftists, we just actually genuinely give a shit about people. Yeah, why are they so hysterical about children dying? Well, keep in mind, Rudyard is almost certainly a white supremacist, and well, let's be clear. The children that are going to be dying are, you know, not as good as the children he wants to keep alive. For one very important, at least in one very important way, to him.
It's so funny because they care so much vastly more about this than actually helping minorities or women or whatever. And I just find it funny that once you take away their NGO money and their bureaucratic money, that's the thing that really drives them crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like defunding different organizations that make sure, you know, people in the United States and abroad aren't just dying unnecessary deaths, makes people upset. It's crazy.
And this is the big spur I consistently find among Reddit and the Democrats that they're most angry about. And
yes. The number one place to go for public opinion, Reddit.
After that, I think the war in Gaza has the potential to be the thing that they start a war over, because people are incredibly
Uh-huh. If we were going to do that, it would have happened already.
Emotional about Gaza, and I don't really care. It's on a different continent.
Yeah, see exactly. He does not care if like children in another place on the other side of the planet are getting killed by our actions or inactions. They don't. He doesn't give a shit.
I'm not related to any ethnicity involved. Gaza's...
See what I mean? See what I mean? I'm not related to any ethnicity involved. Holy fuck, dude. Jesus Christ. saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, no. He literally has a religious ideology. Like the when we did a deep dive into like his very specific religious beliefs, he believes in like divine bloodlines. Like there is something divine that gets like passed on generation to generation, and that he is the incarnation of justice from his divine bloodline. He genuinely believes that. He's fucking nuts. He engages in the same kind of Nazi esotericism that like actual Nazis engage in, you know?
Over, because people are incredibly emotional about Gaza, and I don't really care. It's on a different continent. I'm not related to any ethnicity involved. Gaza's a quarter the size of Chester County, which is the relatively small county I'm from in Pennsylvania. It just seems irrelevant to me. But a lot of the left really cares about the Gaza.
Man, it's crazy that you're like, yeah, it's about the size of the place I'm from, and then you just move on as if you can't even conceive of everyone you know and yourself being systematically eliminated in your own home.
Gaza war. And I could definitely see Trump's latest moves to move Americans into Gaza being something that could spur the left because it fits into their colonizer paradigm, and it would be perfect for them to rally their supporters together. Another variable to keep in mind is how delusional, arrogant, and mentally ill the leftist elite are. I've seen statistical surveys of the opinions of upper-class leftist Americans, and they're absolutely insane stuff, like trying to ban cars and washing machines and air conditioning. And I'm thinking to myself, do you understand how much the public would hate you for this? And it's
yeah, except that that's not what those policies are. The policy isn't just like no more air conditioning. It's like certain kinds of air conditioner would be outlawed because they are inefficient, and we need to maximize the efficiency of our civilization so that we stop contributing to global warming. Similarly with cars, it's not like you're going to be arrested for driving a gasoline car, just that we need to stop producing them so that we don't kill the planet. Stuff like that. Stoves, like, hey, maybe stop gassing yourself inside your home. Like maybe we should embrace better stove technology. The entire point about this is that we have better ways to do things now. We need to shift our production to those better things in order to save our planet. That's it. Colonizer paradigm, please provide those sources. Oh, Paladin, he's not going to provide sources. He never does.
It's for climate reasons. And there's I don't want to say beautiful article on this topic, but it's there that does the statistical survey. And it's one of the most blackpilling things I've read in my life. These traits are what normally occurs in falling empires. And I could see the left starting a conflict like this, assuming that they are
Leftists hit an issue with their arc of history, which is their God in all reality, in which progress has the ability to judge between good and evil. Progress helps progressives, and thus they think they will win since the universe will help them. Again, I know leftists, and this is assumed now, but publicly stated a century ago. Like, no. Sorry, sometimes you gain knowledge and it gets lost via like how society that's like no one would argue this. Like, I think generally people agree that historically there has been like a leftward progression in our country, but that is by no means a given. That is only done and comes at the cost of sweat, blood, and tears for millions of Americans. And now it's our turn for the sweat, blood, and tears, and we're gonna fucking win because the right is made out of absolute clowns like this guy. Like, this guy's thinking cannot sustain any kind of civilization. It's crazy. This guy would probably unironically support The Handmaid's Tale, whatever that country is called.
Are vastly stronger than they truly are, and that they have more public goodwill than they do. They've completely closed themselves off to reality, and also their ego wall is so large, while their energy level is so fervid, that I think they can't not go.
Yeah, Gilead, thank you, vegan.
Go out with a bang. When I look at the modern left, I see a tide pulling back. There's a palpable lower energy level in the left today compared to the relentlessly powerful hysteria of a few years ago.
Again, there are researchers who study this, That is not true. There are 3 times as many protests happening now as there were during Trump's administration this far in. Okay? 3 times. And additionally, like, it's just getting bigger, but it's also happening not just in Democratic pockets, but also in rural areas. It is far more widespread this time. And it is far more encompassing. And it is far more persistent. And I believe it's only going to become more so as people begin to genuinely suffer from the tariff situation, at the very least.
This could mean one of 2 things. The first is that they're pulling back for a tsunami, which is what normally occurs with tsunamis. And the second is that
Thanks. They're pulling back for a tsunami, which is what normally occurs with tsunamis. Brilliant prose. You know, you script your videos, right? Like, you can do some proofreading and say, maybe I should phrase this a little bit better. You know, I at least have the excuse that I record this live, and so sometimes I'm not as succinct or clever with my wording as I would like to be. But like, you write this down and look at it and say, yep, this is good enough. I demand better for pre-written content.
the water is genuinely getting lower. You guys know that I believe the first, but I have no idea when a war like this would start, and secondarily, I think the idea that the left dies quietly is a completely reasonable and respectable opinion to have. I say the crazy shit so that you don't have to. However, when I look at the left today, I see a movement which has enough will left that they will refuse to die. I believe the left...
What war? The hypothetical war that he thinks is going to happen because leftists are going to be too triggered by Gaza and are just going to do a mass attempt to fight the US military, I guess, which is insane, but okay.
Would literally
the mate suppression wars.
Rather kill all of society than lose, since they've already been doing that for years. They openly say they want a revolution all the time.
Why is there a picture of Destiny on the screen? I can't. This is so unhinged. What the fuck, man?
Take them at their word, since they are constantly saying at this point.
Oh god, I know people are going to say, why are you taking Kendrick Lamar seriously when he talks about revolution? First of all, I'm annoyed at how much artistic license we allow blacks and women to have, which white men don't. Secondly, the left clearly do believe the things they say, which is the only way our current reality makes sense. The insane thing is that Kendrick literally says that the revolution was right. It's just the wrong side. That's pretty blatant. What the fuck, man? Oh my god. We give too much artistic license to black people and women? This guy has 700,000 subs. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, this guy is insane, for sure. For sure. But that's why I pace our coverage of him, because like I do think it is worth pointing out that this is like a mainstream conservative these days. And I think that's worth pointing out. I think that means something and is useful. But also, like, they don't have good arguments. And it's like conservatives are just so thirsty for someone that can be confidently wrong. And I think that fundamentally, that's why people follow this channel and other conservative channels, but also why a lot of conservatives embrace AI and think AI is like genuinely sentient or like is a super, super useful tool. It's because they genuinely they appreciate confidence over being correct. And like when you're making decisions about your life, you can't just be basing that off of confidently wrong information. You know, it has to be correct information.
Destiny, the biggest leftist streamer, literally said it was morally permissible to shoot Trump voters. The day I wrote this video,
citation needed, but also, is Destiny even the biggest leftist streamer? I don't know that he is, and I also wouldn't consider him a leftist.
I saw Kendrick Lamar openly advocating for leftist revolution during the Super Bowl halftime show. The Super Bowl is peak normie. By the way, I'm super happy my home city of Philly won the Super Bowl again. But if the word revolution is used at the Super Bowl, society's about to go to hell. Before a great
Yeah, I thought Hassan was the biggest leftist streamer.
Storm, everything is still. Have you noticed the culture has gotten deathly still lately? Almost no.
It's not. We literally, like, what are you talking about? The culture is deathly. You just talked about one of the coolest Super Bowl shows in modern history. You like fucking Sinners just came out. Like we are eating good when it comes to video games. We're playing the dopest tunes, the coolest movies. Like, what are you talking about? Monkey Man came out not that long ago. Fucking Monkey Man. 10 out of 10 film.
No content creators are still putting out content in that almost every public figure has already been discredited. There's almost no new music, culture, video games, or stuff that people consume.
What the fuck are you talking about? Literally more good games are coming out now than ever before. What are you talking about? I'm gonna go see Sinners tomorrow? Hell yeah, Paladin. I've heard that it is cool as shit. God, I just... Yeah, no new video games coming out really breaks me. Like, as a former video game journalist, and someone who... As somebody who still receives, like, gaming PR emails, I can assure you guys, cool shit is coming out in video games all the time. Literally, just, like, a couple weeks ago, on the same day that Oblivion Remastered just, like, stealth dropped. Okay? Claire Obscure came out, and it is one of the coolest... It's some of the coolest shit, okay? I haven't played it yet, but I would love to play it soon on stream. It's cool stuff. Let's go here. Oh, no new video games are coming out, though. God.
Rated M for mature.
You should never have come. You're only going to make things worse for everyone.
No. She chose to come. I didn't make the rules between you two.
You're fighting to change things.
For those who come after. Right?
I thought I was used to losing people.
Yeah, me too.
I know it seems absurd to offer Oblivion as recompense, but
she'll never paint again.
Oh, no good games are coming out. No video games. No cool video games are coming out. None whatsoever. Here's a game
There's
called
a fine
South of
line
Midnight.
between mercy and justice. Ain't that right, Hazel Flood? You chose a hard road for yourself.
Hazel, please, it isn't safe.
We got a long journey ahead.
I'm always fast enough.
It's not safe out there, Hazel.
If I was the one missing, she wouldn't stop looking. Crouton? What the? And this ain't even the weirdest thing I've seen today. I'm seeing these things.
You can see strands. And now you're looking for a creature. You're a weaver, aren't you?
Hello?
There's something big out there.
Take this and go find your mama.
I'll come back.
You better. I gotta know how this tale of Hazel ends. Hazel, no!
This ends now. Mama?
Yeah, no good games coming out, I guess. Also, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, but I've got something just for you, because you know what? There are games coming to Super Nintendo. Look at this! They're making a fucking Doom cartridge for the Super Nintendo this year. 14 new levels in Doom. You can get like a cool, like, modeled cartridge in the collector's edition. Fuck yeah. Wait, Doom wasn't already... This is an upgraded Doom. Also, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the show. Also, you know, yeah, but you know, no good games coming out. Is it the actual cartridge? Comrade Girl 2018? Yes, it is a physical cartridge in 2025. All right. It comes with all 4 Doom episodes, circle strafing. It performs better on the Super Nintendo hardware than the original Doom release. It has level codes. It has a new difficulty, and it has Rumble support if you have a controller that supports that. So yeah, it's pretty cool shit. Additionally, no good games came out in 2025. Nothing good is coming out at all. Nothing super hyped or talked about. Oh wait, what's this?
An empty blueprint represents a world of possibilities.
I give and bequeath to my grandnephew all of my right, title, and interest in the house and land which I own near Mount Holly.
A world of dreams and doorways.
The above provision is contingent on discovering the location of the 46th room of my 45-room estate.
I suspect you wish me to look into your future.
my grandnephew fail, then this gift shall lapse.
Anyway, everyone's talking about this game. I don't know if it's my cup of tea, but yeah, it's kind of in that vein of like mist-riven stuff. Yeah, for sure, a show. But no good games came out in 2025. I'm done with the bit. Yeah, look, just because Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2 didn't come out again this year, doesn't mean no good games came out, my guy.
Economy is dead, while intellectual creativity has died, and no one has children. First of all, I want you to know, I refuse to die, and I am here for you. I refuse to give up, I will keep making original content, and I refuse to sell out to lies. Growing up,
I refuse to die as well.
My mother would say, life is like riding a horse and it's your duty to die in the saddle. I am yours. I am very proud of the mental horsepower you have.
Indeed.
Secondly, things seem too still to me. This is eerie. This isn't the quiet of spring, where you can hear the little blades of grass popping out of the snow water going into the creek, which is running a bit faster, while the birds have returned from Mexico and they're tweeting. This is the dead quiet before a hurricane, in which the birds have stopped singing, the dog is hiding in the shower, and you have a crippling headache, while the air is still and humid. I don't know how to articulate it, but something feels evil in the air. I try to pray and meditate every day for 20 minutes, and through that process, I try to disentangle my own.
Maybe the spirit world gave him a warning about the future. Maybe the spirit world is telling him that the leftists are going to go to war.
Own desires from the environmental pollutants around me, or the crap I'm picking up from my environment, and then also relating my relationship to God. And I use it as a way to emotionally disentangle how I relate to my environment. And it's felt as if we're leaving the age of the zombie and entering the age of the demon. The age of the zombie is lifeless, monotonous, soul-crushing, boring, and soulless. And
you know what? Oddly enough, I agree. We are in the age of the demon. It's just that he kind of thinks demons are not him, or people, with his particular ideology that gleefully cackle when millions of children get put on the chopping block because, they think defunding a bureaucratic organization that keeps them alive is fine for some reason. I think actual demons would cackle at throwing millions of children to their deaths,
all other words related to those on the thesaurus. The age of the zombie over the last decade is how so many people have lost their individuality to the slow press of life today. The age of the demon is when the repressed anger and rage spills out into horrors and terrors. The color of the world turns from a putrid gray into blood hot red. There's something in the air that's driving men mad now. Please be careful, stick with your friends, God, the past, and your ancestors. I promise everything will turn out all right in the end if you just hang in there. Peace.
Oh man, we did it. We finished it. It's fine. We did it. We made it through. Holy moly. You see why we can only talk about this guy like once every, 6 months or so. Because that was a lot. Is that the end? That's the end. Your ancestors. Yes, Dylan, this guy believes that there is a divine spark passed along in your blood that determines, your sense of justice and your connection to the spirit world. So that's cool. He's so friggin' gross. Yes, I agree. So that's that. The smartest and most hinged conservative. And with that, we have ended the segment. We're done. We're done, baby. You can't make me go back. I'm free.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.